Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Okay, everybody, we'll get started. Coach, if you could give us a couple opening thoughts, and then we'll get questions for the student athletes for the time that they are in here.
Well, obviously, just excited to be part of this, to be, to move on to the Elite Eight, and it was a very short night, long night, but, and the thing I emphasize, these guys, they really got to kind of block out everything that's going on around them and really focus on preparing for Loyola. And, we got to be we can't worry about what happened yesterday, can't worry about next week. We got to take care of business right now. And they've been so good at focusing and really taking into the game plan. And that's got to be there tomorrow. And, we got to get our mindset right, our heart right, and play at a high level tomorrow, because they're very good, tough. 31 wins. Yeah, I don't care what league you're in. That's big time. 13 in a row, 20 out of 21, something like that. And then they seem to make a lot of big plays, 3-game winners, and since they've been in the tournament. And so we have a tough challenge ahead of us.
Raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. These are questions for the student athletes here for the first 10 minutes or so. And please direct your questions to specific individuals as much as possible. Third row here on the right.
John Hale with the Courier-Journal. For any of the players, there was some controversy about the handshake last night with Kentucky. Were any of you offended by that, and kind of what was your vantage point on that situation?
Barry, why don't you start with that, please?
Well, I mean, I think we were just cheering too much and didn't really get kind of organized to be able to get in that line and shake their hands. And so maybe they just walked off just because they didn't think that we were going to get organized and be able to shake their hands.
Let's go third row on the left.
Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com. Barry, there was a great video of you hugging Ernie Barrett in the locker room. What does he mean to you guys, and what did he say to you, and how important was it for you guys to get the vindication that he wanted so badly?
He means a lot to us, to this program, to the K-State history, and I mean, he's been to a lot of our practices just to be there and see the hard work we put in. And so knowing the history and knowing him not being able to play in a game versus Kentucky, and we just wanted to go out there and just do it for him. And once we got it done, I knew he was so proud, he was so happy. He just kept saying it in the locker room and in the huddle, just hugging everyone. And so ultimately, I think we all did it for him.
Fourth row, third seat in.
Kellis Robinette here with the Wichita Eagle, Kansas City Star. A question for Xavier. Coach touched on this a little bit last night, but has playing the 4 opened up some things for you as opposed to playing the 3 in this tournament?
I believe so. Just spreading out the court more with more guards on the court helps us out a little bit, and just having it different points of attacking. We still have an inside presence with Mac and Barry and be able to dribble and drive to the hoop, and of course we have shooters on the court at all times. So I believe it helps us out a lot.
Fifth row and toward the back.
Nubias Wilborn, Sporting News. Cartier, you being from South Carolina, Cartier, how's it been having probably more family, being able to be closer to seeing you play here in Atlanta than maybe they would be in Manhattan?
It's been great. It's been fun. The fan support, the love, all the people that went to school with and grew up with, getting to come see me play, it's been a joy. But just enjoying the moment, living in the moment, and ready to get this next one.
Sixth row on the left.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN. For Barry, you all were here, back here. You all were in this position when you played the hot mid-major and UMBC, and they were winning games, they were dangerous. Now here you are playing Loyola in a similar situation. Do you think the UMBC experience maybe helped this team kind of refocus and realize, the challenge ahead?
I guess you can say that. I mean, we know that. Every team right now is trying to make history, and I've been talking to my guys about just making history for K-State, worrying about us, and worrying about what we can do to stop each and every opponent and respecting them, and just going out there and playing K-State basketball.
Questions for the student athletes? Go ahead again.
Barry, what is K-State basketball?
First off, it's defending. We take a lot of pride on defense. Got to get better rebounding once we get that stop. Pushing ball in transition, making the right pass, playing for each other. just making open plays, staying confident no matter what the situation is, no matter what the score is, and what's going on in the game. Just staying together, never getting away from each other, and picking each other up when we're down.
Fifth row.
Nubarius Wilborn. Xavier, what, if any, is there like a moment with Coach Weber that's kind of like defined your experience with him, or just kind of getting to know him over this time?
Coach Weber, we've been knowing each other a long time. You know, he recruited me, so just being around him all the time, getting to pick in his mind. He's a great coach, great guy, and just being around him, just getting some of his wisdom is great.
Raise your hand if you have a question for, here you go, third row on the left.
Cam, how plugged in are you guys to the history of K-State basketball, and that for 40 years, up until the early 90s, this program was at shoulder to shoulder with the Kansases and Kentuckys, and maybe what this game tomorrow means to the older fan base and the history of the program?
You know, I think that win yesterday meant a lot, you know, especially to the older fan base, like you said, and the people that played before us. We knew that we could compete with anybody in the country, and I felt like we showed that today, and we just got to keep moving forward. I mean, yesterday. My bad.
Who's got a question for the student athletes? Charles in the middle.
Charles Odom, Associated Press. For Xavier, there's been a lot said about the grittiness and toughness of this team. When did you first see that evidenced in this team? And that showed yesterday with the success late, even after the foul trouble. Did you worry as the fouls grew last night?
I had confidence in all the players and being able to step up in the moment. But I found out about that grittiness of this team, and back all the way in spring around this time last year, you know, just guys being in conditioning, getting up shots after conditioning, dead tired, doing all the extra things, and just helps us to get to this point right now. And that grittiness and fight really came from each and every one of us, and just having that desire to win.
Go to the back left.
Hey, Emily Gang on CBS 46 News. Last night, your coach said you guys only had 15 minutes to celebrate. Maybe Stokes and Brown, you can answer this. What's the balance like of knowing you're so happy, thrilled to have gotten this far, but you really have to calm it down because you still have so much more to accomplish?
You just can't be satisfied. You know, you made it to the next round, and you know you got a tough road ahead of you, so you can't be satisfied. You got to enjoy that win. Like you said, it was for a short period of time, and we just got to focus on the next game.
Very far left over here.
This is for Barry. Tom Martin, KCTV. With how much basketball is trending towards fast pace, chucking three-pointers, you guys really dig down for defense. Coach says you take pride in it. Why is that? What made you guys recognize that that was the type of game y'all had to play?
I mean, just knowing their style of offense, they like to get up and down, use their length and athleticism, just get easy runouts and dunks, and kind of make a lot of flashy plays. But we knew that with our principles and the things we've learned since I've been here, my freshman year, defensive-wise, that we could guard anyone, no matter the height differential or the weight and size. I mean, we knew that just being in the gap, helping each other, helping the helper, and rebounding would be a big task, and we were able to go out there and do it.
Back row on the left.
This question's for Barry. What have you seen or what have you learned from Loyola so far in your preparation for tomorrow night's game?
I see that they move the ball a lot. They trust one another a lot. Got a lot of good pieces, inside-out presence. They have a good player in, I think it's Clayton Custer, I think. Yeah, he's a good player who scores from all three levels. And so it's going to be a great task to defend him and do my best.
Raise your hand if you have a question for the student athletes. We'll get a microphone to you. Second row on the left.
Wyatt Thompson with Kansas State Radio. This would be for Barry and Cam both. This is your third year in the program. You guys have really grown in and through this. Was there a time where you felt like you could get to this particular point? If so, when would that have been? Would it have been this year or maybe prior to this year?
Barry, you can go first.
I mean, I knew coming in the program had some rebuilding, but I knew that with the pieces we had, we just needed time to get a little bit of experience, gel together, and come together and really buy into the program. And I feel like this year is the first year we have just the experience that we need and everyone buying into it and not really worry about their own individual accolades and goals and stats and stuff like that. I feel like we're all really here to play K-State basketball, and so I knew this time was coming. It's just a long time coming, a lot of hard work and dedication and preparation, but I knew it from the start.
Cam?
Like Barry mentioned, I felt like experience was the biggest thing. Freshman year, we came up short. Sophomore year, we made it to the tournament. Didn't get as far as we wanted to get, and we learned from those situations. And I felt like this year we were able to overcome a lot of things just based off our experience.
I have one more.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Cardi, I'd like to ask you about what is the most difficult part about this type of turnaround that is so quick? As Coach mentioned, you're getting ready after the euphoria of last night's win. In such a short time, you're turning around and playing a team that's 31-5.
I think the biggest turnaround is just you don't have a lot of time to scout, but I just we have a lot of faith in our coaching staff, and everybody does a great job. I know they stayed up all night, getting ready for it, but we just have to be locked in a little bit of time we have and just be prepared and ready to go out there for a dogfight.
Let's go back to the fifth row.
The bias Wilborn again. Cartier, you had mentioned, obviously, being from Florence, not terribly far from here. You had some people come in. Are you expecting even more? And if so, is anybody who surprised you that maybe came and showed up that you weren't expecting?
Yeah, I'm expecting some more. My mom came out, so that was nice. She thought she couldn't make it, but then she made it, so I was happy about that. So.
Raise your hand if you have a question for the student athletes. Any more questions? Oh, here we go. Charles in the middle.
Barry, kind of as a follow-up to that, it was no surprise that there was a lot of blue in the stands last night, but now that you guys have sent Kentucky home, are you kind of hoping maybe neutral fans adopt you, or on the other side, do you kind of wonder if Loyola, as the feel-good team, getting a lot of national pub in that respect, if maybe the neutral fans here from Atlanta will kind of adopt that team?
I don't really think it matters, especially to me and our players. I mean, we played in super tough arenas. But we've also played in Bramlage, which is a top arena. So we know the home feeling, and we know the away feeling like we're near home. So I mean, I don't really think it matters, but we're gonna feed off the energy from our fans that we know are our fans, and just try and get this win.
Raise your hand if you have a question. We got a few minutes, time for a few more. Fifth row in the back.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN again. For all five players, what's the song that you play before you go out onto the court? Do you have a pregame song that's your favorite song?
Did you say all of them? Yes. All right, Barry, start with you, and we'll go, and then we'll keep going.
Can we start with Cardi?
All right. You start, and then we'll come back this way.
I've been really listening to Don't Give Up by Gunna. So I can go Google that.
For me, probably be J. Cole, January 28th.
I'll probably say Drake, Look Alive.
I don't know. You said what? Drake.
Drake, Look Alive.
Drake.
That's Block Boy.
Cam, you got one?
That's a family. I don't even think I have a specific song. Yeah, I don't even have a specific song. Migos, something like that. I don't know.
Barry?
I'll probably say I Get the Bag by Gucci Mane, featuring Takeoff and Quavo. Bunch of crazy.
We've got time for a couple more for the student athletes. Does anybody have another question for them? Raise your hand. Okay, guys, I think we can let you go. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go there first. Okay, let's continue with questions for Coach Weber. Dan on the left. Ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Bruce, Dan Walken, USA Today. I'll let you finish your text there. How sensitive have you been over the course of your career to criticisms about recruiting when you're not sort of operating in that, 5-star level? And is there any sort of extra satisfaction for you given, all the controversy around the sport this year that you bring a team here that, is not a team full of 5-star type kids? It's been a more developmental type team.
I don't. It doesn't bother me. Obviously, I'm human, and I really try to stay away from social media, from papers. I used to listen to talk radio, and then I became a head coach, and I had to go to country music. So just to have something to listen to and not hear people talk about me. But I just try to do it the right way. At Purdue years and years, as an assistant, we got a lot of kids that weren't top 100, ended up in the NBA. We did the same. Southern Illinois took a Sweet 16 with guys that weren't even recruited by other Division I players. Illinois, I think we've done okay. There we did some special things, had some guys play in the NBA, and I just try to do it right the way I feel it should be done, and I don't like what is going on in our business, to be honest. But it is. I just kind of, you can't do anything about it. If it is that bad and some of this stuff comes out, it needs to be changed, and I hope it does get changed. And but all I can worry about is myself and making sure that I do things the right way and help them develop. And I know when the paper comes to your door, or the news comes on, my kids don't have to worry that I did something I'm not supposed to.
Third row here on the right.
John Hale with the Courier-Journal. Oh, sorry. Me?
Go ahead. Go
okay,
ahead.
Yeah, Bruce, did you have any problems with the Kentucky players or coaches in the handshake line?
I'll be honest. I shook hands with everybody, and I don't know. I turned around and I don't. Like the guy said, I didn't see what happened, and maybe our guys were celebrating, didn't get there. It's done and over with. It's such an emotional game for both teams. Obviously, it's tough, to try to keep your emotions. And, I told our guys, hopefully we act with class and do things right. And well, all we can worry about now is what's coming up. And that's got to be our focus, getting ready for Loyola.
Vahe.
Hey, Bruce. Vahe Gregorian, KC Star. I'm sure on some level you've been conscious of the early skepticism of a segment of the fan base, and this is a little different than Dan's question. I just wonder how you process that in terms of them embracing you, and how different it feels now to turn this way. I don't know how you've contended with that through the years.
There's no matter where you are, there's always somebody that doesn't like you. I mean, Judd Heathcote years ago, it's all he would call me when I took a job. He said, well, 10% of the fans don't like you, and it's going to increase every year. And that's any job, and it's so hard with social media now, faceless opinions that can go negative, and then that influences other people, even though they might have no knowledge. So it's part of it all. Again, all I can do is do my job right. Recruit my butt off. I think if you go and look, I go out more days maybe than anyone else as a head coach, and I've always done that. We recruit good kids, and they graduate, and for the most part we've won. I think you go back at some of the greatest part of Purdue's history, greatest part of Southern Illinois' history, greatest 9-year run maybe in Illinois' history, and now we won a Big 12 championship that hadn't been done in 36 years, and now we're doing something special here. So, I just, it is what it is. I just care about our players, to be honest. And, you got a guy, a hometown product or a state product in Dean Wade, who's one of the best players in the country. I hope people appreciate that. And then our other guys, how hard they work and how they've improved. And I hope they're cheering for him, to be honest.
Second row, Jeff, on the right.
Jeff Schultz of the Atlanta Constitution. Coach, this whole upstart thing has obviously been a theme throughout the tournament, particularly this region, but we're going to have at least 3 low seeds in the Elite Eight, which seems extraordinary. As a guy who's been involved in college basketball for a while, are you surprised by this at all, or should we expect more of this in the future?
I'm not surprised. There's such good balance. You just look at our league, 10 teams. all of them probably could have been tournament play. 7 were in the NCAA, 2 in the NIT, and Iowa State, if they don't get a couple of guys hurt, they might have been in the NIT. So you got such good balance. SEC, you know, the ACC. It's just there's just so many good teams, and so much is matchups, and there's so many. You know, so many good teams not playing this weekend, and that's why I kept emphasizing our guys. I don't care how we got here, we're playing. And you know, UMBC beat the #1 team in the country, Virginia. You know, it just so they must be pretty good, at least on that given night. They are on that given weekend. But I think you've seen it more and more, the balance. You know, the guys leaving early. The teams that keep guys and get older, they have a chance of beating people. Our guys talked about experience is such a difference maker, and you know, so I think it's part of college basketball. It's what makes March Madness special.
Way over here on the left.
Coach Ryan Baker, CBS 2 Chicago. What is your reaction to facing Loyola in the Elite Eight, a 9 versus 11, given your history at Illinois, and do you feel vindicated as a coach somewhat based upon the way things ended with the Illini to be back on this stage?
Well, I'm happy for our guys to be here. It's just, this is a great group, and they've worked so hard to get here, and it's you know, I'm glad they're being rewarded, but they've earned it. They've rewarded themselves by how hard they play, how they play together. To play Loyola, we can't. I told the guys, you can't look at the name, you can't look at the league. You got to look at the team. They're a good team, and you know I mentioned they beat Florida. You know, at Florida early in the year, they beat Tennessee, who won the SEC. They beat Miami out of ACC. So they got to be pretty good, and all you know whatever they've done here as of late, they're hot. They play together. They got great. You know, it's kind of interesting experience. But then they got some young guys that have really stepped up, and you know, you look at them, great togetherness. Porter's done a great job with them. They guard, they scheme, they play off each other. So it's you know, it's going to be a tough game. We're going to have to play special, and that's what I keep emphasizing to our guys.
Let's take one here in the back.
David Haas, Chicago Tribune. Bruce, what kind of relationship have you had with Porter Moser over the years as your paths have crossed?
You know, I've known Porter just, you know, obviously being in the business, being around him. We played one time. He was at Illinois State, and I was at Illinois, and we had to play our butts off. In fact, people that Illinois fans, Darren Williams broke his jaw, and we had it wired, and we weren't going to play him, but we were struggling, and Darren had to play with the wired jaw, and pretty much won the game for us. So, you know, he's got, I know because of Tony Baroni, because of Coach Majerus, you know, guys that he had gone through, and you know, I think he's got a little bit of both those guys, the toughness, the defense, the scheming, the discipline, the shot fakes, you know, all those stuff I watched, you know, those coaches do, and he does it, and that's why they're good. You know, he's a good guy for the business, and I'm happy he got a second chance, and he's been able to have success because, as I said, he's a good person, good coach.
We'll come to Vahe here, and then we'll go over to the left.
Bruce, if I understood you correctly last night, I think you alluded to some things you might have derived from Coach Snyder, maybe particularly on points of focus. But I would just wonder, in general, to what degree you've borrowed from him or learned from him or been influenced by him.
Well, one, it's just when I got the job, Roy Williams, I've told the story, called me and he said two things. He said, first, it's a long way to the Kansas City airport. And he said it was long to Lawrence. But the only good thing is, right when I got off, I saw the sign 94 miles to, or whatever it is, to Manhattan at that point. And I said, Coach, I'm sorry to tell you, but we have direct flights now in and out of and he said, no way. And I said, yes, we do. So we go to Dallas and Chicago. But he said the second thing, you better grab on to Coach Snyder and learn as much as you can. And I think you guys know he's not somebody that's going to bring you in his office But I've gone in, talked to him, obviously just watching him, listening to him, whether it's media, press conference, after game, being around. I learned a lot from our radio people, Stan and Wyatt, because they're around him so much, and how he prepares and how important is the game, one game at a time, all that stuff, and believing in, you know, when everybody else, like this year, thought they had no chance, and they go to Oklahoma State, and all of a sudden they're kicking their butt. And he was the one who focused on the game plan and getting them ready, and those guys were ready. And that's I've kind of learned from that. There's no doubt about it. But just amazing what he's done there, and he deserves his name to be on that stadium.
Let's go way over here to the left.
Coach Tom Martin with KCTV. I'm sure you've seen things in players who wound up playing at the next level in their college days that led you to believe they could. Do you see anything with Xavier, especially after a game last night, that kind of lends a glimpse at his potential maybe?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. If he continues to make the progress, when the NBA guys come, and we've had more come, we've had, obviously, had West last year, and, we had some guys with Rod in that group before that, and, when they come and watch, when they watch West, right away they brought up Xavier, and they look at athleticism, they look at his size, and he's got to make that progression. He took a big step this year. He knows, and I've told a story before. He came in office, he said, Coach, don't even say anything when we had our year-ending meeting. I know what I need to do. I know it's much harder than I thought, and I got to work at it. And I hope he has the same mindset this year, because he's taken one step, now you got to take another step. And if he keeps making that progress, he has a chance to do it like Wes, because of his versatility and athleticism. He has a chance to play at the next level.
Let's go back to CL here.
CL Brown with the Fieldhouse. Bruce, if you could take us back to the 2014-2015 season when you kind of had the culture reset in the program, how difficult was that, knowing that perhaps by letting some of these talented players go that you wouldn't even be around to finish it through and to still be coaching there?
Well, I believe, in doing things the right way. And I said many times, K-State, Coach Snyder has created it. There's a culture there. There's a pride. There's a family. When people say family, everywhere they are, this nation, this family, it's truly there. It's special. Until you're part of it, you don't really realize it. And, I've said we want guys that make K-Staters proud. And our guys weren't acting the right way. A couple of them came, I thought were pretty good kids, and, things happen in life and they changed. And then, another couple we maybe, didn't look into it enough or trusted people that were in their little circle that they were going to do things the right way. And, we had to make a decision, a hard decision. But at the same time, it was not fun to coach. People have asked me, what's the best thing about this year? It's fun to coach. We have kids that I don't have to fight them every day. I haven't had to raise my voice maybe a handful of times. I didn't have to every day wake up and worry, are they doing I'm sorry. Are they doing the right thing? Are they taking care of business? And that's no fun to coach. I wanted guys that wanted to be there, wanted to do things right, wanted to get better and improve. And it was hard. It was difficult. But our staff should get some credit. They stayed the course. We did, and now we got some guys that have made the strides to help us get here.
We got two in the back.
Myron Mack of ESPN. At Illinois, Bruce, you met a guy named Jim Fannin who became somewhat of an advisor, I believe. Just wondering how he's helped you throughout your career, especially in some of those more difficult times.
I actually talked to him this morning. And got some little ideas about some themes. I always try to have themes, quotes, things for him. Thank you. Actually, it started at Southern Illinois. We brought him in kind of before he even got onto the scene, and he talked to our guys and latched onto us and did a great job. And you're always looking for motivational guys, speakers that can help the players, help the coaches, take them to a new level, and he does a great job with that. And he texts me off and on during the year, sees things, watch our games, gives me little tips, ideas, and I love that stuff. And I think our players buy into it also. Some ways to focus on the game, but also the week, the season, whatever it may be.
Third row on the left.
Coach, Kansas State basketball, much of its history has been forgotten by the nation. 4 Final Fours, but the truth is the last one was 54 years ago. What would this mean for the program and kind of etching your name and this team's history into that legacy?
Well, Oh, it would be special. There's no doubt. When you talk about some of the greatest coaches in the history of college basketball, obviously Tex Winard, Coach Hartman, Jack Gardner, Cotton Fitzsimmons. I mean, just it's amazing. And when people come to our practice facility and walk in and see those guys, I don't think people realize it. And as you said, it was a while ago, and people, we'll say we'll say Michael Jordan to our players or to young kids. They don't even know who he is, and that's how things change. But it would be great. I mean, you saw the emotion of Ernie Barrett yesterday, and he's a special man, Mr. K-State, done so much for the university, and obviously he's one that's alive and experienced it and been part of it. For him, it would be special. There's no doubt, and for our program.
Let's go to Charles and then to Vahe.
Charles Odom with Associated Press. Is there one player that you can point to who set the example for the defensive toughness that this team has? And if not one player, is there one factor that you attribute that to?
Barry Brown, there's no doubt about it. When he was a freshman, I said, who's going to be our defensive stopper? And he's very stubborn. He's a little bit confident, overconfident. But he said, I am going to be, Coach. And he got cooked a little bit as a freshman. Got better last year. He was one of the tops in the nation in steals a year ago. And then this year he kind of has taken it on, just to be the stopper. He hasn't probably gotten as many steals because he's been locked in on so many guys. You just look at the tournament, Big East player of the year, Marcus Foster, Lyles, American East player last night, Alexander, SEC, I think MVP of the tournament, if I'm right. And then even last night we had to switch him on Knox. So he's been the leader. Xavier is really taking some pride as the season's gone on and being a stopper. We've convinced him of that. And then the other guys that just have kind of bought into it.
Vahe.
Bruce, did you come up with your pregame quote sort of yet for this game? And a side question, too. I wonder if you could just describe what was going on with Cam last night. You guys were on the court. You had both arms around him, and you were laughing. It was kind of a tense time. You got him laughing. I just wonder on each of those.
Well, just, with Cam, I just trying to get him to calm down. He kind of messed up on his defensive side of it, didn't run a play. Got going fast. I just said, hey, you got to calm down. Just relax. You got to smile. You got to enjoy it. We're not mad at you. We just want you to do well and do what you're supposed to. Stay calm and poised. And I guess I got him to smile a little bit. And he's made some big plays. Obviously, he's not where he should be or could be and where he was. But, we keep telling him he can help us. And he's done great things to help us to be here. And then, with the theme, I was talking to Jim this morning on the phone a little bit, and we always, the coaches, we kind of think of some ideas, but for tonight we'll probably talk about, mostly is really don't worry about yesterday, don't worry about tomorrow, worry about today, and preparing. We've talked all this last stretch about your body, taking care of it, your mind, your preparation, and then your heart, playing for your teammates. And that's kind of what we've kind of stuck with as a general thing over this last month.
Front row here, Mark.
Bruce, Mark Bradley from the Atlanta Journal and Constitution. You're a 9 now in the Elite 8, and in 2002 you were Southern Illinois in the Sweet 16, but you also had the #1 team in the country in 2005 that was very close to being undefeated. When you're on a run like this, is it more fun if you're the one that is not supposed to be here than the one that is?
Well, I think both of them are obviously enjoyable just to advance each time with each group. But there's no doubt when you like Southern Illinois for what we did, just to win 1 and then to win 2 and then to go. I mentioned the other day we walk in there and it's UConn, it's Maryland, it's Kentucky, and Southern Illinois. And our guys were all giggling when we were running out for practice. I said, what's the matter? They said, Coach, look at those banners. And they said, we don't belong here. But we had 2 of those guys were at our Charlotte games. We had a couple here last night. And they just said, make sure that they don't get tight. that they enjoy it. They're ready to play, and I thought our guys were very, very focused. And you know, the run with Illinois, just amazing how our guys stayed the course with all the attention. I mean, every day we had this many people, you know, doing stories about us because we had a chance to be undefeated. And I know the week that I said I am not going to allow any media on, I got hugs, kisses, you know, into the practice facility, and they were so happy because they just wanted to relax and be young men. So, but all the runs are special. There's no doubt.
Time for one last question.
Alex Scarborough with ESPN. I was just wondering, Coach, with Barry, how did you come across him on the recruiting trail, and how has he sort of developed for you?
Well, our staff does a great job of finding guys, and we don't have a great big population base in Kansas, and we got one pretty good player from there. If you look at the rosters of Kansas, Wichita, and us, there aren't a lot of Kansas kids. So, and they've had some great history in Kansas basketball, Kansas City, Wichita basketball, but it runs in cycles. Excuse me. It runs in cycles, and it's been a little bit of a down cycle. Hopefully it'll pick up, but so you got to go all over the place. And Barry was actually the 8th man on his AAU team, but he was on a team with kids that went to Duke, Louisville, North Carolina. I mean, all the top kids, and we just appreciated how he was patient. He stuck with that team because a lot of guys, if you're 8th man and you're good, you're going to another team. And he stuck with them, and when he got his chance, he always did good things. And that summer, he got away from his team one weekend, and he was the leading scorer at the Olin Depot camp. And there was no doubt in our mind that we wanted him, and Coach Frazier did a good job with him and his dad. And then when other people came in, some of the bigger schools, the local schools, you know, he already committed to us, but, you know, the dad and said, hey, where were you guys before? These guys have been here the whole time. So we appreciate their loyalty and glad to have him and glad it's worked out for them.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.